Hi, this is Ron Burke with Gaming Trend, here with the senior producer at Ubisoft Montreal. If you would, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Assassin's Creed Unity.
Sure. So my name is Vincent Pontbriand, and I'm the senior producer. And I've been working on this one for a while now, ever since AC Brotherhood. So what we've been doing with all this time, we've been renewing what Assassin's Creed is. We're taking the opportunity with the new consoles, the new next-gen platforms, to try to reinvent a little bit what AC means without changing its core values. So going back to the roots, the urban setting, the dense crowds, that feeling of being an assassin, like a blade in the crowd, like a focus on the core pillars, navigation, stealth, combat. And make all of that possible to be shared with friends as well. So we're introducing co-op for the first time with better graphics and everything. So it's a little bit more of everything.
So obviously you guys you probably set out with the objective of having a cooperative multiplayer game right out of the gate. Yep. Why 4? I mean, it's a pretty big jump from 1 to 4. Why not 2?
That's a good question, but it's the more the better, no?
I played through a co-op mission. The more the better is not necessarily the case. It can get pretty messy.
It can be chaotic for sure. So the idea is, yes, our original mandate was to create the first fully online next-gen Assassin's Creed, and from the get-go we decided to go with 4 players. It's a good benchmark in the industry, and we wanted to have that like a solid challenge. And for us, technically, it doesn't make a difference. Like in between, 2 or more players makes no difference technically. We need to replicate everything over the network, so that meant like reinventing all the pillars, change all the animations and everything, so that they take into factor like the latency and lag and all these constraints. So it was possible for us to embrace 4 players. So we decided to go for it. And in the game, the way it works is that any co-op missions are actually playable solo. So you're not missing out on any content. If you don't want to play online, you don't have to in this game. But then 4-player missions can be played at 2. 2-players mission can be played at 4. It doesn't matter. It's more the way they're balanced. They're meant for specific number of players. The 4-player missions actually take into factor the idea of that the more you are, the more chaotic it will be. So we've actually made these missions slightly easier, because we have to count that players will make more mistakes when they're playing stealth. They'll get discovered more often by enemies and stuff like that.
So there's 2 different cooperative play styles, Heist and I think it's Brotherhood is the other one. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of give us an overview of those?
Sure. So Brotherhood missions are the more narratively driven mini stories about the French Revolution. They're what the Assassin's Brotherhood do, in Paris during the French Rev. The heist missions are more stealth-oriented missions. The idea is really simple. You need to sneak in someplace, get the treasure, and sneak out. The difference is the co-op missions are broken down into 3 acts. They're narrative. They have a main target at the end. While the heist missions are really one shot, but they're randomized. So each time you play them, they'll be slightly different. Guard position, the position of the treasure itself, locked doors. All this changes as you.
Now you say slightly, but the mission that I played had 20 entrances that are all randomized. So that seems a little more than slightly. There's a lot of variables in these.
Yeah, well, it depends on which one you play. So for you guys, we're trying out a 4-player heist mission, so that they're a bit more challenging, more complex, and then we have like shorter ones. So it depends. Yeah.
So what are the rewards that you get, and do they translate to the single-player mission?
In the case of heist mission, you get money. So the amount of money you get depends on how well you play. Each player gets different rewards because we measure your progress separately from each player. So their money, which you can use then to purchase, consumables, pieces of gear, weapons, to help customize your character.
So you talked about the three pillars, and one of the pillars that I felt fell a little bit short kind of over the last few games is that combat. It became very easy to win once you kind of recognized this is how I counter. I could very easily take out entire swaths of enemies. Combat is much more difficult. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys changed combat?
Sure. So the trick is AC is a mainstream game, so it needs to be accessible for both casual players and more hardcore. So we need to find the right balance in between the two. So we have always opted to have a combat system which is really rewarding visually. For ACU, because of co-op, because of progression, and also because we wanted to have a more focus on stealth, we decided to change the core mechanics. They're still very accessible, so it's basically a rock paper system kind of system, but there's whenever you're fighting against more than 3 or 4 enemies, the fight definitely gets harder. So there's a threshold there that's meant to tell you that, okay, this is not the right approach. You will be defeated unless you play really well, and you should consider escaping and using stealth the next time around. So it's based on enemies, it's based on damage per second, it's based on stats, depends also on the ranks of the enemies you're fighting against, depends on yours. So it's something that we're actually showing in the game. You'll see stars above the enemy's head, and that's their level. If your character is level 1 and you're fighting against level 4, this is also a message that this particular fight, it will be hard.
So there seems to be a health bar, and then is that an armor rating on top of that? There's a little white.
That's their level.
Oh, it's
that's
their level.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the other pillar that I like to focus on, I like stealth. Even if I'm terrible at it, I still love it. Can you talk about the changes that you've made with stealth and how that kind of ties in?
Right. So we've tried to look at stealth from any possible angle. So the first one is trying to remain true to Assassin's Creed. So we have all these missions that are built to embrace stealth, to invite you to play stealth. You never have to. You can still rush in. It is going to be more tough. And then we, after 7 iteration of the franchise, there's stuff that was still obviously missing, like an actual cover system. People were mimicking him. It was funny they were pretending to be hiding or taking cover. So we decided to take the time to actually develop it. And then something that came in later was the idea of a stealth mode. So it's what you do in between walking and taking cover. It's a crouch button, but beyond just walking crouching, we wanted to have some sort of gameplay effect as well. So when you're using the stealth button, the speed at which the enemies will detect you will change, the radius of their line of sight as well. So these are all small factors that help enrich the stealth pillar.
I noticed there's also some aspects of other Ubisoft games, like last known position, and then when you're crouched, you can see the directionality of where that guard is looking. That kind of helped in a lot of the stealth missions that I was playing.
Yeah. So this is a good point actually. These are the little things that we've added to the stealth mode. So when you're crouched, and you'll see on the minimap the position of enemies, which is missing when you're standing up, but which you can see when you're doing the eagle pulses and stuff like that. So they all contribute to giving you more tools to understand how to play stealth and how to become better at it. They're there to give you to help you find better strategies.
So the biggest change that I've noticed with the last couple of hours that I've played that I've gotten is that it's not like the previous games where you'd find your sync point and it would show you these are all the things you get to do in that area. You guys have gone with a much more a different kind of open world approach that seems to encourage the player to get off the top of the roofs and go look around.
Yeah. Well, again. We're trying to encourage people exploration of the city. We would like them to find everything by themselves. We've realized by doing internal playtests that some more casual players had a hard time doing that because they were confused as to where to go and what to do next. So we had to find the best recipe to try to do both. So the high points, the towers you're climbing, will still like unfog the map, so it'll give you at least the layout of the streets and stuff like that. We're also giving out a few things when you synchronize the high points, such as the location of a specific side quest, but not all of them. So it's a mix and match of finding that stuff for yourself by actually walking down the streets and giving you hints or tease using the reach high points. We're trying to avoid that feeling you get when you get to see every icon on the map and then understanding that there's nothing in between. We want you to try to explore Paris and then find all its mysteries.
The other big aspect that I've noticed is that customization is huge. I mean, there's something like 35 plus just hoods that you can wear. Can you talk a little bit about how the customization works in the game?
Sure. So we have a deeper, richer like a progression system, which is more meaningful because it's stat based now. So the main motivation of the game should not be like a narrative anymore. You're not necessarily there to try to just finish the story. You should be motivated by the progression of your character, Arno, and it's gear, it's pieces of equipment, it's weapon. All of these things actually have stats now. So we have like I don't know the number exactly. We have different hoods, and hoods, for example, will change the speed at which NPCs detect you. It's a metaphor, but it's just at least it's there to give you better return on investment. So if you purchase a particular hood, this one might be good at stealth, but slightly worse at combat for some reason. So it makes you it makes you
creates a trade-off.
Exactly. It makes you need to think of what you're doing when you're purchasing all these things, because they're also they have certain prices, so you need to work hard to earn them, and then so it's just, I guess it's more meaningful altogether.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I hope people will have as much fun as I do, like just exploring the city. And the city of Paris itself. It's crazy. Without going on any mission, you can just spend hours exploring that city that we've spent years building, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.